Hey there, gang. We'll try this a second time. Our first broadcast didn't work. Somehow we lost our internet connection. So we're going to try again. Patrick King here, coming to you live from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Today's question comes from Kylie. Kylie wants to know, what's the best way to start teaching a horse to tie to something like a tree, a fence, or a trailer, particularly with a high anxiety horse? So the way that I'll start out with teaching a horse to tie, I'm going to start them out on the halter, of course, with a good length of lead rope. I like to use a 12 or maybe a 20, 24 foot rope with my horse whenever I'm doing this. And I'm going to use, if I'm in the arena, if I'm in an indoor arena, I might go around a support post. If we're in, we use what we have, right? If we're working at the trailer, I might use one of the tie rings outside that. If we've got a tree that we typically tie to, I don't know what we're all tying to. If we're in the cross ties, maybe your barn is set up that you use cross ties. I'm going to start out with just a single tie rather than two cross ties, and I'm going to loop my lead through the ring of that, or again around the branch of a tree, around the post, around the tie ring on the trailer, something like that. But the big key is that I'm not tying the horse hard to begin with. I'm just simply looping, so it's mock tying, as I would call it, and I'm holding the end of that rope so that I can control some of the movement of the horse, and I can allow the rope to slide and feed in and out as necessary to help my horse understand how they can be confident. So one of the things that I want to really keep in mind is that it's not about teaching the horse to not move their feet, because when the horse feels that they cannot move their feet, being a prey animal, being claustrophobic by nature, all they can think about is moving their feet when we tell them that they can't move their feet. So what we're going to do is, rather than tell them that, we're going to tell them which feet they can move. And again, back to Kylie's original question, with a horse that has high anxiety, that's particularly helpful. With a horse that has high anxiety, telling him, yes, you can move, and here's where and when you can move your feet. So with that rope, again, just simply mock tied, looped through the ring or around a post or something like that, I'm holding the end of that rope. I'm going to give the horse a little bit of slack, enough that they can move their head around a bit, and then I'm going to hold the end of that rope. I might walk behind the horse and kind of flag them a little bit, pestering them a little bit with the end of the rope to encourage them to move. I'm going to encourage them to move around to one side or the other, and once they've done that, I'm going to send that rope, kind of flicking it up around the body, around their head, to the other side of their body, and just move them back across the other way. Essentially kind of fanning the horse from wall to wall, or from side of the trailer, from one side to the other, or from one side of the tree to the next, or something like that. Holding, again, not tying the horse, but holding the end of the lead rope. And I'll do that as much as necessary until the horse starts to really relax. Now, when I do that, I'm doing it in a pretty quiet, relaxed, casual way. I'm not in a big hurry. It doesn't matter to me to be in a hurry. That's ridiculous. The horse does not wear a watch, and as soon as you get in a hurry, that's when the accidents are going to happen. That's when frustration is going to begin. That's when your horse is going to start to get more anxious, more worried. Take your time with this. Relax, okay? The more relaxed you can be going into this idea, the better you're going to help your horse. So again, I'm going to work him back and forth like this, and that's going to be a process until the horse starts to really relax. Now, this might take 2 minutes, might take 2 hours. Totally depends on your horse. So each time you go about working with this, you're going to plan to have as much time as necessary. The last thing that you want to do is get started with this and have your horse come up with some anxiety or some worry and run out of time, okay? So if you don't have the time to dedicate to this, don't start the task in the first place, all right? But again, I'm going to work the horse back and forth on that line until he starts to really relax and let down. And then I might simply go about grooming him or something like that, but holding on to the end of the line. So that, again, if the horse needs to move, he can feed out of that tie ring or out around that fence post or something like that. And I've got control of the end of that rope. So when he's relaxed, I can move him around, I can bring him back in. And each time he would feel the need to move, I would go back to working him back and forth, moving his hips left, moving his hips right. And the hips, to me, the hindquarters are a big piece of that. Making sure that those hindquarters are unlocked while the horse is standing tied is going to be really helpful. Again, the horse by nature is claustrophobic and he's a flight animal. So we want him to be sure that his flight feet, his motor, his hindquarters are loose and soft and comfortable, and then he's not going to be so concerned about being tied. All right, now this process that I go through, I might take weeks, I might take days, I might take months, depending on the horse's anxiety level, depending on his past history. If this is a horse that we know has a history of tying back, or pulling back rather, or one that's really terribly bothered, it's not worth the risk of getting him potentially hurt. So I'm going to spend a lot more time just sweeping him back and forth and having him only mock tied before I actually commit him to that. And honestly, the question comes up all the time, when do I commit a horse to being tied? I probably err on the side of waiting too long. You might have a horse so good at that you feel like you never really need to tie him. That's probably when it's appropriate to actually tie him with a quick release knot, of course, around that post or to the trailer or to the cross tie ring or something like that. If you have a question in your mind of if your horse is ready to actually commit to being tied there, then the answer is probably no, right? That's the way that I like to keep that in mind. When you know beyond any shadow of a doubt that he's committed, he's relaxed, he's going to stay there, even if the world falls apart, he's going to stay there. That's when I would commit to having him tied, again, by putting just a quick release knot in there. And there's a number of different quick release knots that you can use. Find your favorite. I'm sure you can find plenty of tutorials on YouTube or Google or something like that for that. So I hope that that's been helpful to some of you that have tying questions about how to get your horse started with tying and about how to progress to having him committed to standing tied. If this has been helpful to you, please feel free, share this video, give us some comments, give us some likes, the thumbs, the hearts, the smiley faces, all that fun stuff. That sort of thing is what keeps these videos going. So, question of the day for today. What's your favorite place to tie your horse? How's your favorite way to do it? I know some people prefer cross ties, some people prefer straight ties, some people prefer the high lines. What's your preference? Share your answers for us in the comments section below this video, and please keep submitting your questions. We've got a great list, and keep those questions coming. I love chatting about horses. You guys keep asking questions. I'll keep giving answers. Have a great evening, guys. Thanks so much.